Okay, cool. But yeah, like you see in this VOD, these little like X's, these it's like two swords on these three players on the right here. This is your pool. Um, so like these are the
Oh,
three players you can fight. And I was looking at one of your VODs, I didn't see it. And okay, no, I see it in this VOD. Okay. Maybe I was just looking at a weird
yeah,
time, like while you're in
I
carousel or
didn't know
something.
that that's what those meant at all.
Yep. Okay, so yeah, it's on your VODs as well. But yeah, those are the three people that are in your pool. Um, and if you go like later in the game, it gets slightly weirder. Like sometimes there might be like looking in your VOD, like later in the game, there's only two people in your pool. It's like a weird algorithm that sort of changes when people die. And it used to be completely annoying. And then like you look at late game in this VOD, there's only one person in your pool, so 100% you're fighting them. So that's I'll give you that one for free. That's like a super
Yeah,
easy
that's
way to know who you're fighting,
a
which
lot
is
easier than I
really really
thought it would be.
helpful. hmm Yeah, no, it used to be horrible. I wish I could find it, but there used to be like a website where you would type in the names of all the people in your game, and it would like put them in a little like square, sort of like the mini map has it, where it has them all in like a 3x3. And then you would click on each person that you fight, and it would like unhighlight them and highlight another person, and it was horrible.
Yeah, that would be
But
miserable.
like a set ago, maybe 2 sets ago, was it like set 6 maybe that they added? Because I remember doing it because I started really playing TFT a lot in 5.5, and I remember doing it in 5.5 definitely. Maybe it's in 6 that they added that.
Yeah, I
But
played like when TFT first came out. I played it for
mhm.
like probably 5 or 6 games, and I was like, I'm just gonna go back to playing Magic.
Yep,
But
I was exactly the same because I played League, and I got frustrated with League, so I played TFT for a little bit in set one, and then I was like, this game's sort of whatever. And then I would come back at like every once in a while, just play it super casually. And then I finally like really got into it 5.5, and I was like, okay, this is the game I actually want to like try.
yeah, I
And
really got into it at set 8, and then the I played Hearthstone Battlegrounds a lot in between,
mhm. Okay,
which is
yeah, I've never
also
played
very
that,
similar.
but I've heard a decent number of people talk about that.
It's extremely similar. It's
Mhm.
same genre. There's no
Right.
items though.
Okay. Yeah. I'll have to try it someday. But yeah. Okay, so you have these two VODs you sent me, the weirdest TFT game and the Laser Core game. Do you have a preference on which one we start with?
The weirdest one, because
Okay.
this one was one where I was honestly super confused how it ended up getting to that point at the end, and I don't know what I could have transitioned into maybe to get second or first. I sent you both games. I think are third place finishes. I
Okay.
didn't want to send like a first place finish because I don't think that's as good of a learning opportunity.
Yeah. Agreed. There are still obviously things that can be learned from a first place, like especially at your ELO. But yeah, I do feel like the games like first tend not to be great. Eighths also tend not to be great because I feel like eighths often are either like super low rolls or like maybe like one or two like really crucial like bad decisions. But I feel like the sort of like middle placements give you uh, a good amount of stuff to be able to review. Like there's a lot of things that you
Yeah.
can learn from. So yeah. Okay, it looks like you started tier this game. Do you like tier start, or did you end up? I don't know if you
So
had
a
tiers
lot of
on
the
this.
times what I've been doing lately is just letting the game choose for me what I start with because I want to get
Okay.
better with everything.
hmm
Typically I try and start though with rod or gloves
hmm
or belt.
Okay. Yeah, I like belt start a lot. I mean, I do think items are in a pretty decent spot right now where you can kind of start anything. Um, and it's not too bad. I think tier's great if you want to play some of the AP options. Um, it does sort of dictate your game plan. You can't really start anything and then play anything. Like I don't really like taking tier start and then playing into like an AD comp like Infiniteam or like a Samira comp just because. Do you know how the item pool works in TFT? Like how the game chooses what item components to give you?
No,
Okay,
no.
so that's another easy thing that I can just give you the information for. And the basic idea is that there's like a pool of all items that you can receive from minions. So like the starting few minions, and then like wolves and krugs and all that stuff. Those items all come out of a pool, and then the items that you take off carousel come just from nowhere. They come off carousel. So the idea is that like if you in these minions you haven't been dropped an item yet, but say like these minions dropped you a sword, that means throughout the rest of the game, you are less likely to get another sword because that
Okay,
sword has been
yeah,
taken out of the
that
pool.
makes sense.
Yeah, and then the thing you have to think about is that like when you take an item off carousel, that doesn't take that out of that pool. That is just taken off carousel. So oftentimes when you're taking something off carousel, starting carousel, or any of the later
It's
carousels,
something that you
it
might get a duplicate of.
exactly, yeah, you want something that you're happy to have more than one
Yeah,
of. So
so like
if
if
you're
you're
playing a comp,
playing, if you're leaning
uh,
into Kaisa right now, it probably want
mhm.
to take a bow, and then you get another bow for free.
Yep, exactly. Or if you're playing like a Vex comp where you want like blue buff and archangels, you want at least 3 tiers, maybe even more. Then you can take a tier. And so like that's partially why I talk about starting item. Like definitely influencing what comp you want to play, because if you start a tier, you are quite likely throughout the rest of the game to see another tier. And so if you're playing a comp that really doesn't want a tier, like I said, like a sure shot comp, it's like pretty hard to use 2 tiers. Like you could make, I don't know, Protector's Vow Redemption, or you can make Hodge, or you can even make like Static Shiv. Um, that it's still like not ideal. So like when you're taking your first item off carousel, you usually want it to be an item that you're happy taking multiple of. And then the other thing is, like I was talking about, say you're going into your second carousel, and you're going to want like multiple rods. You've dropped like 0 rods so far. It makes a lot of sense then to take a rod and say, okay, I'm going to get this rod off carousel, and then I'll natural another one later because I still haven't seen one rod this game, and then I can make my 2 rod items that I want, or if you need like a death cap or something like that.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's just a crash course on how items work. It's pretty helpful, especially because like if you're looking at even like stage 3 carousel or stage 4 carousel, and you say, okay, I haven't been dropped a bow this game and I need like Last Whisper or something, but I have already been dropped a glove. I'm gonna take glove because I'm more likely to get dropped a bow than I am to get dropped a glove. And it's slightly different now because you get the
I actually
armory
think I had
thing.
one of those scenarios that
Hmm.
happened recently.
Hmm.
I don't know if it happens
Yeah.
in one of these games, but
Hmm.
I do remember specifically. It was I was playing a Kaisa game,
Hmm.
and I think I took a rod and ended up getting another rod out
Right.
of the out of the minion drops, and then
Hmm.
if I had taken a sword, I could have just had a gunblade rather than having a Rabadon just randomly.
Right. Right. And yeah, and if you're in that situation where you have already, I guess that was a situation where you probably hadn't seen a rod yet that game. But there are situations where you get dropped multiple rods because it is at the end of the day chance.
Yeah,
Like there are games where
but
you'll
it's
get
still a
dropped
min
like two
max
or three.
thing.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's good. That's good to talk about. Okay. So first, like main decision point in this game actually just comes right here when you get dropped. You getting it might be full gold opener. Where you've already been dropped. I mean, your bench is worth 12 gold right here.
Yeah,
So you can decide what you want to do here. I've seen a lot of people recently like think it's more defensible to just like hold the entire bench here. I'm someone who's a fan of, especially at 1-3, just like making 10 gold if you can. So you'd be able to just sell all of your 2 costs here, make 10. You can even hold on to the underground. The main consideration is that you have a rel pair. If you hit a rel augment here, like hero augment, if you get 2 on hero augment and you hit a rel hero augment, you are like you get a free top 4 basically. So because you have rel pair, I'm fine holding these 2 rels, but I do think it's definitely something
yeah.
worth thinking about
Immediately,
here.
what I think about when I see this is like I want to hold underground and I want to hold the rel pair,
Hmm. Yeah,
and
and
that's
yeah,
just because Kaisa's so good right now.
yep, agreed. And I think that's a completely reasonable way to think about it. Similarly, I would even think about potentially holding this Lucian over this Camille. Yeah, I don't think Camille does that much in the early game right now, whereas Lucian, especially if you end up going into like a Kaisa angle, will be very helpful to have, and he can even be just like a good unit to hold on to this tier. So I'd probably sell Camille by GP Lucian. You even have Fiora, so you could potentially play like duelists. Yeah, you have Fiora and you have Kelpair. The problem is like tier start. Once again, talking about like item start into a comp, tier start into duelist is like not the best because like what are you using these tiers are. I guess you can go like the more AP angle and go like Static Shiv and then another item for TF. So not too bad. It's just kind of awkward to hold. But yeah, okay. So you hit Kale 2 here, which yeah, you can just build. You have Poppy Pair here, which is good. And yeah, you're gonna field the Rel, which I think is fine just because she's such a good unit. I do usually, oh my god, yeah, so it is full gold opener. I do usually like to field like my lowest cost units as possible so that if you have
Just
the
in
opportunity to
case.
make gold, you can sell them. But I mean, you have 2 out of 3 underground, and you have 2 rails, and rail, like we talked about, is so strong. I think it's fine. But yeah, just as sort of like a rule of thumb, just a habit, I usually like would just play 2 poppies here in case I want to make gold here. Okay, and so you crack open an orb. It's even more gold. It's Morgana plus Shen. So right now, how expensive is our bench here? 14, 16 gold, I think. Yeah, our bench is 16 gold. I would definitely like to make econ here. And it's fine, I would say, to sell Annie plus this plus this. That's 6 gold. You probably want to hold this. So then the question comes like, do I want to sell Poppy Pair? I guess you can wait a little bit and see if you get dropped any more gold. I think this is all the gold that you're going to get dropped, but it's pretty tough because Morgana is actually a
Yeah,
very solid
Morgana's
early game
really
unit
good
as
too.
well. And like Shen makes sense with the whole like defenders idea. But I do think like there is definitely a thing where we can wait and see. Okay, so yeah, you get dropped nothing else, so now you have to make the decision. Okay, am I going to sell bench? What am I going to do here? I do think like just having a bench that's this expensive is often sort of like a liability in TFT, just because like you're not making econ, you're holding all of the stuff on your bench, and you can only play so much of it, right? It's
Yeah.
not like you're gonna field Morgana and Shen, and I mean you could maybe do Morgana, Shen, Kale, Rel. You don't have duelists in, but then you're not fielding all of this stuff. So I do think like in situations like this, it makes a ton of sense to just say, okay, like I can hold on to Rel pair for sure, but I definitely want to sell like enough to make 10. So I'm thinking here: sell Fiora, sell Camille, sell Annie, and then you have to choose one of these two to sell, and then you would sell one Poppy, which definitely feels bad, but I really like making 10 in a scenario like this, just because your bench is so expensive and you know you're going to play the Rels. Um, so maybe it would be sell Morgana, sell Poppy, because we already have the tier. We're probably ideally going to get to a static Shiv. I think that's what I would do here. It's actually a pretty tough decision. I don't completely hate holding everything. It's just that like,
Yeah,
and if you are gonna,
I think I do end up making 10, but I don't remember honestly.
okay, yeah, let's see. Um,
No,
okay, yeah.
I
So
didn't.
you don't make 10, but like I do think like it's potentially defensible because like I mean the Kale is definitely good to get in. It's just like I don't know. Like it's a lot of gold to have sitting on your bench, and like this is something that I think a lot of newer players do is they just hold a ton of units on their bench, and like you don't sort of realize it. I think when you're holding them, but like the opportunity cost of like making gold here is like pretty huge, especially because gold, just like concept in TFT, gold snowballs. You know, you make 10 gold, that gives you an extra gold that helps you make the 20 gold, helps you make 30, helps you make 40, helps you make 50. So making your first 10 is really, really important. Okay, first augment here. I mean, the first two are pretty hard to defend. Hey, you have no Riftwalkers, right? So taking Riftwalker Crest is like
Yeah, it's
definitely a
bad.
no-go. First aid kit, you don't really have anything that synergizes with it. I think it's really good if you're playing something like
First aid
Mascot.
kit's one that I've found really weird just because like I feel like I never take it.
Yeah, it's very situational. You want it in a comp that has a ton of innate healing, so like mascots. And I'm trying to think if there's another like really good example right now of a comp that likes it. Not really. So yeah, like definitely like if you're playing like a Vex game with mascots, it's very very strong.
That's my video
Without
tonight.
that, huh?
That's
What'd you
my
say?
video tonight.
Okay,
The
nice, nice. I mean, I like that
Vex
comp.
comp.
And
It
so then
was way
you're.
better a couple patches ago, I think, but
Mhm.
I
Oh yeah, I
mean,
mean at the
it's
start.
still above average if you get the 3-star Vex, I think.
Yeah,
It's
at
underrated
this.
right now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I do think it's sort of it's definitely underplayed. It's the only downside is sort of um that like you really want a ton of tiers to play that comp, and there are a lot of Kaisa players taking tiers, which
Yeah.
feels a little bit bad. Okay, so then your only option basically is Sunfire board or reroll. I think I'm fine with either one. There's a lot of high roll opportunities in gold augments, especially at 2-1. So from like your spot, if you hit Star Guardian Crest, you're like probably just going top 4 for free. It's so insane. Gadgeteen Crest is a bit awkward, but that's another like really easy high roll opportunity. Portable Forge is really good. Infinitium Crest, a little bit awkward from your spot, but you have the Shen. So like there's a lot of really, really strong gold augments here, and Sunfire board is a bit middling. So I don't hate rerolling here. I am just more of a sort of like conservative player. So I would probably just take Sunfire board and say that's fine and save my reroll because I know I'm gonna have at least one more augment later that I'll need the
I
reroll
do feel
for.
like I reroll more than most people. I will say that.
Yeah, yeah, and I don't think that's necessary. Like I'm absolutely fine with rerolling this because there's so many gold augments that offer high rolls. I've seen a lot of people reroll good enough augments to look for even better augments, especially at gold, just because there's so many opportunities to high roll. So I am fine with rolling here. The other thing is like Sunfire board, you have no Sunfire components so far, so it's pretty nice to like if you already had a Giant's Belt or a Chain Vest and it's like really easy to get to Sunfire, then this becomes worse. But because you have no components towards Sunfire, like this becomes a bit better. So yeah, I'm fine with a Sunfire board take here or just a reroll. Okay, so yeah, you take Sunfire board here. I think that's completely fine. I think this is a spot where we've already hit Kale 2. Yep, I absolutely think we should level here. Yeah, I like this board. This is sort of what I was going to go for. And yeah, you have to ask the question like if you want Duelists in here or if you want Morgana in here. I think Morgana's a stronger unit, but I mean, you always just sort of have to think about what the synergy is doing for you. I think just like having Duelisten, especially because you have Kale 2, is really nice. So I would probably just go the Fiora over Morgana here. And I'm wondering if we make that difference, can we make 10 here? I think so, right? Sell, 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 sell.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can make 10 selling the Morg. Whereas if you do this,
I
the
have
only way
to
you
sell
make
the
10 is if
pair
you win.
or
Yeah,
win.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. I mean, I don't want to sell this real fair, but I mean, I guess you can. You haven't seen like Hero Augment. It's not uh like as broken as it was. But yeah, I would probably just play Fiora here. One to make 10 gold, and two just because I think adding in Duelist early is really nice. Also, like I mean, Morgana's an insane unit, but like she is at her strongest late game when there's a ton of people like building resists, whereas like early game, you're just treading like the innate resists on all the units. So it's not like as important. Um, so yeah. But yeah, okay. So you win here.
I
You
did
end up
sell the
going,
pair instead of Vi. I
yeah.
think in my head I was just thinking from the content standpoint that Underground was better.
Okay. Okay. I mean, if that's you always got to figure out what you're optimizing for in all things. So if you're optimizing for content and you want to hold the underground angle, then that's fine. If you're
But
optimizing for
I think
winning,
it's for winning. It's yeah, Rel is better.
yeah, I would definitely hold the rail pair. Just because, especially as
And then
time
I
goes on,
hit
and
the Rel. I
you,
even mentioned it in the video. I was like,
that's so
oh,
funny.
should have held the Rel pair.
But then you also hit Sona, so it's kind of like, I mean, you could. Yeah,
Yeah.
you kind of get, but yeah, like you get punished there. Yeah, I think if you're optimizing for winning, rail pair is really nice. But I respect it. And I mean, you can hold Sona and rail here, play underground, and you can still make 10, which feels really good. I think this is fine. Yeah, I think Shen's just a better unit than rail. Usually in TFT, the higher cost the unit, the better. But there have been many situations where that is not the case because balance is not perfect. But yeah, so I think playing Shen here makes sense. You end up actually winning this fight against a pretty weak board. The guy took super hard. That's I don't know. I'm not a fan of that augment at
Yeah,
all. But
I
all good.
don't think that augment's very good in general.
Yeah. Now you hit roll 2, which is pretty wild. This is actually it's an interesting spot because yeah, are you gonna okay, because I was gonna say like you can double level here. Yep, sell the Morgana and play for streak. I like this. It's a little bit awkward that you're playing win streak on like
Underground. Yeah.
undergrounds. But you can always just use it to like make some extra gold. Take a 1 or 2 cash out. So yeah, I mean I like this. I mean, you kind of have to play the Rel 2. And the fact that you can level up here and still make 10 because you got the full gold opener feels really good. So
Yeah, I
I
think
like
that
this.
was my decision point on double leveling. If I didn't have 10, I don't think I double level there.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense. Um, okay, so okay, yeah, let's these are your options on carousel. You have just tier so far. So I mean, what you take on the first carousel, especially in a situation like this, um, can sort of like determine what comp you are going to play. Like you have a Sona already, you have Sunfire board. You could just take an extra tier here and play more for like a Sona game. I think it's a pretty solid comp. You can just like make the blue buff on Sona. That definitely is like your strongest item that you can build here because like outside of that, like if you take these two items, it's not like you're gonna slam a Zephyr.
Yeah, I think I was looking at the Zephyr on Shin or the Jinx Redemption.
Mhm. Yeah, I think. I think Redemption's a fine early slam.
Like
Zephyr, I feel
it
like
wouldn't. I don't think I actually build the Redemption, but
okay.
I
Yeah.
might like because also what I'm thinking here is I'm still playing Underground as well,
Hmm.
so I'm gonna get a lot of components later, possibly.
Hmm. Right.
So I can build tank items now, keep my streak, and then maybe sack some later.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's fine. I think like you always sort of just have to think about what item is going to spike your board more, and then also like what building certain items means for your comp. So like for example, if you take the Jinx with redemption components, if you make redemption, that means like that's one tier that you're not going to have available for Sona later. Like if you wanted to play say like a Sona game, which feels a little bit bad. The other thing you have to think about is just sort of like how effective the items are on your units. I do think I mean, slamming a redemption on a rel 2 is a really big spike, just because she's a 2-star unit. You know,
Yeah.
always ideally you're itemizing whatever units you hit 2-star because they're going to use the items a lot better. So, I mean, from that perspective, I think redemption is fine and stay open. I probably wouldn't take the Shen because I'd like to slam something here. You're on a 3 streak. When you're win streaking, you really want to slam items to continue that streak because if you just get 2 components here and then build nothing, it's very easy for someone else to crack your streak, especially because you have no components so far. So yeah, you take Shen. I mean, you could if you hadn't put the tier. Oh my god, and you actually hit the Shen too. I was going to talk about this as well. But you could if you hadn't put the tier on Sona, you could like make redemption for frontline now. And I do think like if we can go back, another just sort of like core principle in TFT is like you don't have to make items unless they're actually going to make a difference in the fight. Like you look at this fight, I don't think having tier on this Sona is making any difference in this fight. Maybe you can argue that like it's like Sona getting a heal off here. Maybe like he would have killed an extra unit. Like maybe he can kill Vi here if you don't slam tier. But like I think unless you see someone here and their board is really really strong and like you think slamming the tier is going to win you this fight, I think just holding the tier on bench to preserve the optionality of like making a redemption or protector's vow is just it's free basically. Like only slam items when they're actually going to make a difference. Same thing if you're like super hard lose streaking and you have a horrible board, you don't need to really commit items to units because like building you know a Gwinsu on your 1-star Kale or something is not going to like swing a fight. So yeah, we end up taking the Shen here. Yeah, that's the other thing about the Shen is that it gives you Shen pair, which in some ways is nice. I think if you hadn't seen Shen in this shop, I would be like for the Shen 2, I would be very interested in just selling the Shen to make income
20.
because
Yeah.
yeah, because I think especially early game, it can often be a bait to hold pairs of 3-cost units just because it's a ton of gold to just hold, especially if you're not even like playing them. Like imagine you have 2 Shens on your bench, that's 6 gold. But because you got the Shen, I mean, obviously making the Shen is good. So yeah, I mean, it definitely works out.
I'm debating on
But
just
yeah,
putting the belt onto Shin. And
yeah.
then
I mean, once again, like I think if there's I think like it's pretty unlikely this belt goes anywhere else. Like that's the other thing you have to think about is like I think when you put the tier on Sona, you're probably thinking like, oh, this tier's always gonna go on Sona.
yeah, I was thinking
Um,
maybe it goes into Spear of Shojin or a blue buff.
Mhm. Yeah, but like you do have to think about like, okay, what if this tier does become like a redemption, or what if it does become like a protector's vow? And then you don't want to stuck on Sona. As far as like the giant spell, like yeah, this giant spell's probably always going to end up on Shen. The only scenarios where it's not is if it's like a Zeke's, which I don't love the item that much right now, or a guard breaker,
I
which is
pretty
a
much
solid
never
item.
make Zeeks, I will say.
Yeah, I yeah.
There are certain items that I basically never build. It's like Zephyr, Zeeks, Cup, the
Hmm.
Chalice.
Hmm.
Chalice sometimes I'll build in late game, but it's very, very rare.
Yeah. I mean, I do think, yeah, I mean, I think the aura items are just a little bit weak right now. And I mean, Zephyr, I think, is a strong item late game. It's sort of awkward to build. Like, you don't want to build it
You just
for
want
the
to take it
first,
on a
like,
carousel.
yeah, exactly. But like sometimes stage 4, like if you get the components for it, it's fine. But I don't really like building it anytime before that. So yeah, I think the Giant Spell Slam on Shen is probably going to be fine. Okay, so we're fighting this player. They have a, I mean, they have no combat augment, so you should be fine, and you have all of these upgrades. But like the fact that we don't have an item slammed here is a little bit scary because if we fight someone really strong, we can lose our streak. And like when you have all of these upgrades and you lose your streak, you run the risk of like becoming very very poor because like you've invested all of this gold into your board. If you like lose that fight somehow, if you're fighting someone a bit stronger, it feels really bad because you've invested all of this gold into your board and then like you don't have any money. So yeah, but win that fight. It's all good. And then we fought this person. We fight this person who's level 4, blue buff Lucian. But I mean, Axiomarch is a pretty rough starting augment. So this should
Yeah,
be
and
fine as
Lucian
well.
isn't as good as he used to be.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so we win that. Okay, I was about to say another small thing is just hold the units in the shop, but you do it, so very good.
Yeah,
All right.
I do a lot of that as far as min maxing goes.
Good. Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who are just sort of like lazy, and they're like, I don't need to hold this stuff, but it's very helpful just because
On
like
the
you
creep
might.
rounds, I don't do it as much just
Mhm.
because of the like what if I get orbs?
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's fine. But like at the end of this round here, I would even pick up the rel here because like, what if um there's 2 cost augments here and you can hold the line and just hit a rel 3 like quite easily this game. So I'd hold on to like rel poppy. Um, yeah. So not a huge thing, but I mean, definitely uh could make a difference here. You even have you have Lulu 2 in your shop. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Let's look at items because you slam
I'm thinking
Warmogs here.
Warmog's gargoyles here
Mhm. Yeah. No, I think that's good. You already have Sunfire board, so you don't really want to make
and
Sunfire at all.
archangels.
Yeah. Archangels is a pretty solid item. It's a little bit of an awkward slam, but I mean, I think it is good if you like once you start committing um your damage items, you basically you start committing towards a certain comp because not every comp can use archangels. Though I mean, like most comps can fit in like an Aurelion Soul, so it's not the most committal. But yeah, I like Warmog's gargoyles here. I think that's correct. I mean, the poppy's actually a nice addition to your board. I think it's actually very reasonable here for you to scout the rest of the lobby. And now that you know the about the swords thing, I think it's very reasonable for you to scout the rest of the lobby here. And if you think leveling for a Lulu here is going to swing you this fight, I would make Lulu 2 and level and play her. Because it's also like when you're on a streak like this at 3-1, leveling, it's oftentimes not bad. Sometimes it can be sort of like unnecessary. But like if leveling for a Lulu here is going to swing you a fight, then I think it's definitely good to do. And then also you have to think about what it does to your econ. You're going to spend 12 gold to do it. If you level, you go to 41 buying the 3 Lulus and then level here, you're still going to make 30 gold if you win that fight. So it's like not like it hurts your econ intervals that much.
Oh, I built Ionic
Okay,
Spark. Yeah.
okay, you go for the Ionic Spark. Okay, one thing that you might not know about, Ionic Spark is bugged right now. It doesn't do damage, like it doesn't do the shock part. So a lot of people are just like not prying it that hard. Like when a unit
Yeah, I
casts
didn't know that was
attacks
a thing.
them. It still does the Amar Shred part, so it's like a fine item late game, but it is bugged in that way right now. So I probably wouldn't go for it.
It's definitely worse looking back.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
Even if
I
it,
didn't know that bug was there, but I think it's probably still
yeah,
worse even if I know the bug is there.
yeah. And a reason for that I like to talk about is just sort of people talk about like item economy. You in building Ionic Spark here have used a rod to create a frontline item. So now your item components are pretty imbalanced. You basically have spent 5 components on frontline items, and then you have 1 backline component. So like imagine if we go into wolves here and we get dropped, like another giant's belt and then a chain vest or something like that. Like you're going to have a very, very hard time actually coming up with backline components. Usually, because we've already seen a giant belt, that's less likely, but those things can happen. And you're sort of like leaning into it here by building the Ionic Spark, which is, a frontline item. So I really like trying to balance out as much as possible frontline and backline components. So, we have, like you were talking about, like the Gargoyle Warmog's idea, and then you have potentially the Archangels that you can build. So then you only have 4 frontline components and like 2 backline components. Feels a lot more balanced. This is also the person you're fighting here is a pretty scary board. Level
Yeah, they have
5.
Star Guardian crests,
Yeah.
Kaisa.
Yeah. No, I mean they have Starting Crest, Kaiser with Gwinsu, Rel 2, Ez 2, Poppy 2. Like this is the kind of fight where I think you can definitely look at this and say, okay, maybe potentially leveling for a Lulu here is going to swing this fight, and I would just do it to be safe here. We'll see how the fight ends up going. And also just, like having another unit on your board feels really nice. So yeah, let's see how it goes. The Shen is super tanky. It's pretty close, but I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, no. I mean, I do think 4 unit loss, I mean, you'll definitely kill Poppy. You might like like if you have a Lulu on your board, it's very possible like small things can like that can sort of like swing a fight. Whereas like if you if you kill the front line slightly faster, you can get to the Kaisa faster, which obviously like decreases her DPS. So I think it's reasonable that a Lulu here. I mean, it's at least going to save you some HP. You really want to only level if it's going to swing you the fight. But I do think like this is a fight where their board's strong enough where you could say that leveling for a Lulu here could actually like make a difference. So yeah, I would definitely say like Lulu 2 adding this to your board could actually have swung this fight. There's no way to know for sure, and you'd have to, there's just fight RNG and stuff, but I think that actually could swing the fight. So that's something you should always
Yeah,
be thinking
especially with
about.
the Pierce.
Yeah. So like that should always be something you're thinking about. And now you know the sort of like swords thing. What I want you to do in this situation in the future when you're on a 5 streak at 3-1 and you have the ability to potentially level here, scout your 3 opponents and look and see, okay, do I think leveling is going to make a difference here? Not only does that like help you just play better, like make a better decision, but it also stretches the muscle in TFT that's like predicting fights, which is a very hard thing to do. But it's very, very helpful to stretch that muscle and just get used to saying like, okay, am I going to win this fight? And then after the fight, you can say, okay, did I predict correctly? If I didn't predict correctly,
Like I
what
definitely
happened?
killed the Poppy there before,
Mhm.
before the Shen dies if
Yeah.
I have Lulu in.
Yeah, and then it's possible that you can kill the Kaisa, which is a huge portion of their DPS. Yeah, I can't say, and like having Heart in will, like
Make Sona
make
better
it.
too, yeah.
Yeah, so it's definitely possible that it can swing the fight. Okay,
I
immediately.
immediately rerolled.
Yeah, look, you immediately real this, but I don't really hate it. Like these are pretty like Double Trouble is pretty hard to play. This set it's very situational. It used to be a lot better, but like they've just nerfed it because it's been very strong in the past. So yeah, Double Trouble's pretty rough. Battle Mage, Thrill the Hunt. Yeah, neither of these are amazing here. They both have their usage in specific comps. Like I think Thrill is really good in like a Gnar comp to heal Gnar back up. Battle Mage is pretty awkward this set as well, actually. So I'm completely fine with rerolling this. You hit CB Luden's Echo Second Wind here. I like Second Wind a lot, especially with your
I would be
frontline.
going between CB or Second Wind.
Yeah, I don't think Luden's is bad if you're playing an AP comp, especially like you're already this tier. If you can get to like a blue buff, you're playing something like Vex with a blue buff, it feels really nice. But like you always have to think about, okay, like what are these augments doing? How do these augments synergize with what's going on with my board? You have two-starred frontliners and one that's already 2 items in. Getting Second Wind to just like double up on that tankiness is like actually insane value. So yeah, I think it should always be Second Wind here. Yeah, CB's not bad, but definitely Second Wind. Okay, and you continue Heist, which I do think is fine. Okay, you can level up here for. I mean, you already have the Shred, so like you don't need Morgana as much, but she is just sort of like a solid unit. I mean, the main thing is that like it's going to cost you 1 gold to level here, so you should usually like almost every single. Okay,
That's
are
something
you?
that I have a hard time with. I will
Mm-hmm,
say, like, when do I level when I'm above 50 gold? Like, in this scenario, because a
mm-hmm.
lot of times I'll be sitting there thinking, okay, well, if I take a loss, it's fine, but like, if I level, like, is it worth that 1 gold?
Mm-hmm. I think in most scenarios it's going to be worth. I mean, at least 1 gold. I mean, this is a pretty close fight. You only had Sona left. Like if leveling here wins you this fight, then you've already made the 1 gold back. The other thing is just getting better shop odds, right? If you're level 6, you have
Yeah.
higher chance of getting 4 costs, which like I would oftentimes pay gold to just have like one better shop. I think a lot of people say the rule of thumb is that if you can level and you still have 30 gold left over, it's usually correct to level, which I think is a fine rule of thumb. It's not accurate in all cases, but I think it's just like generally a fine thing to go with. The other thing is that it's just like usually the way TFT works is most people are leveling to 6 at 3-2, and so it sort of like helps you stay in line with the rest of the lobby. So like most games, I'm going level 6 at 3-2. Not every single game, but I do think like just starting like it's good to just sort of have that rule of thumb. I can send you I wrote out sort of like a leveling chart that has all the levels where I consider like this is sort of like the default timing to level. Like 3-2 I would say is like a very, very default timing to just go 6, just because I mean it's sort of like it's an even interval, like you don't waste any
Yeah, so what
XP.
I've been kind of doing with that is just going by what the lobby is doing.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah,
I
I think
don't
that's
know when
fine.
you're actually supposed to do it, in my head, like I don't have those stages where I specifically want to be certain levels. It's
Hmm.
just I pay attention to the lobby and go, okay, well, I should match the lobby and level up here, or
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, I think that's actually quite good, because it's actually weird in TFT. Like, if you play the way I play a game of TFT, it can actually be suboptimal for your elo because just the lower you go in TFT, the more greedy people get. And then, conversely, if you get like really, really high on the ladder or like in tournament lobbies, people are playing really, really aggressively usually. Um, and so, like, if everyone else in your lobby is being really greedy and not leveling, it makes sense for you to be greedy and not level as well because you don't want to waste gold leveling when it's like not actually going to make your board like you're still like at 3-2 you didn't level and you still won. So like if that's consistently happening in your games, you don't have to put gold into level and you're winning, then that's completely fine. And then you can I mean I like how you said it, just sort of like going with what the rest of the lobby is doing and sort of staying in line with that, which is why most people level at 3-2. But like if at your elo like people aren't doing that, then I think it's completely fine. Okay, we're looking at carousel here. My eyes immediately went to the fact that there's a Sona here. We have Sona pair and it makes blue buff. It's a little bit like late to sort of like commit to playing Sona, but like I think it's never bad in TFT to pick whatever is going to make your board stronger at the moment. A lot of people, myself included, sort of like have a bias and they're sort of thinking about, okay, what's super, super late game? What's my level 8 board going to be with all of these items? But it's always good in TFT just to pick whatever is going to make your board stronger right now. Like that's almost never bad. It looks like you're going bow here. Okay, and so you have tier open. Um, I don't like this very much
because
because
yeah, I already have the shred.
yeah, you already have the shred, so Static Shiv is pretty low value here. It's still like if you want to play Kaisa, good damage item, but we have 0 Kaisas. Maybe you want to play TF, but like even then, like you can still just go like a Gwinsu and then like a damage item instead of committing to the Static Shiv. So yeah, I would much prefer. I mean, Sona 2 with blue buff here would be great. Would probably allow you to just win streak the rest of the stage, and then like carry you through most of stage 4. You could probably go fast 8. If not that, then take a Shojin here, take an Archangels. I definitely want to get a damage item here. So, I mean, I like taking some kind of damage item, but yeah, I mean, Sona 2 with blue buff feels really good here. Wow, and this Morgana 2. Okay, we definitely take those.
Yeah,
But yeah,
the
um,
Morgana was weird.
yeah, but like a lot of the best players will just sort of like if you're in a situation here where you have Sona pair, like taking a Sona off carousel is really high value because it just makes the Sona 2 immediately. So yeah, hit Morgana 2. I definitely like to hold this Lee Sin because he could be a really good unit to get in. But like I said, if you're not making 30 after
I've
leveling
also
here,
never played the heart comp.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean,
See,
if it's a comp that you've never played before, then like I do think, especially below like master tier, it's really crucial to just play stuff that you're comfortable with. Um, I would hold the least in here because it's actually a really nice unit to get in. But like you're talking about, if you're not comfortable playing towards heart, it's a little bit worse. But yeah, like below master tier, I think it's really the best thing to do is focus on a few comps and learning them really, really in depth because I remember being new at the game, you can get super a lot of TFT players call it dizzy,
yeah,
where you're like trying to figure out, oh, okay, I'm playing, oh, I'm building these items, and I'm putting these unit, I'll put this unit in. Oh shit, I gotta take this unit out, but then I gotta build these items, and then I gotta figure out when I'm leveling. And so like just anything you can do uh, below master tier, I would say, to sort of like remove dizziness is really really helpful. So I think like sticking to some comps that you care
I
about a
think I
lot.
should have taken the Rammus pair there.
Yep. Yeah, Rammus is a pretty underrated unit, and I think he's really, really nice. So it's might be another thing where you're like not that comfortable playing into it, but it's like another thing you should be doing here for sure. Like even if you're uncomfortable playing into the Sona comp, Lee Sin is like probably the best unit you can add to your board right now, outside of like some 5 costs that you could high roll. Gets you in Brawler for this Vi, which eventually will hopefully be a Vi too, and gets you in Heart for Sona. Like getting an Lee Sin here feels amazing. So I think like something that a lot of people, it's a really hard thing to do, but always just looking at the units in your shop and considering, okay, how do they improve my board, is something that's just sort of like always really really good to do. Okay, we throw in a Belveth here and an Ezreal, so we can get in for underground. We're at 1 out of 10 stacks. Yeah, when you okay, this is yeah, you definitely should look at this. You always have to consider when you're getting underground, like how is this actually going to change my cash out? Because like if if you want to cash out after 3 losses, this actually makes no difference.
Yeah, zero difference.
The only difference would be loss, loss, win. You would actually be able to cash out with 4. So you have to think about how this is going to be different. I do think your board has the possibility of winning, but then you have to think about like there's actually no difference 3 and 4 underground winning. I'd probably just play Belveth here, especially because we're getting into the later stages of the game. Like playing a ton of underground late game can make you take a lot of extra damage. But like if you lose this fight, um, and it's like a close loss, this feels really good. But like, if you win this fight, then there's actually no difference 3 or 4 underground. You would hope that the Lucian would just kill your whole board. He actually, oh my
Yeah, I
god,
was
he actually
sitting there
almost did.
saying it. I was like, come
Yeah,
on, just kill the last one.
yeah, I actually almost did it. Okay. Item subs are Warmog's Ionic, right? Okay, because you always have to consider um augments here. Garen augment, this is the carry one, so probably not, but like if you end up hitting the other Garen augment, it's quite strong. But you don't really have great Garen items. You really want just like super, super tanky items for Garen, Declaw, Gargoyle, Bramble Vest, Redemption, items that scale with his HP, basically. Um, Absolute Corruption, I believe. And are you a stats person? Do you like looking at the stats?
I I found the stats tool from watching your YouTube videos recently,
Okay.
so I just discovered they exist.
Yeah, I think it's something like really helpful here to just look at the stats on like basically just to get a sense for like what's broken and what's not, because like I mean, if you're insane at the game, you can just sort of like read it and like reason out, okay, how strong is this actually? But especially as someone who's newer to the game, just looking at the stats and having that be a sort of like baseline of like, okay, how strong is this? That doesn't mean the worst thing you can do is like look at the stats and always take the thing that has the highest win rate. But just being able to look at the stats and figure out, okay, like what am I taking here? Like what is the actual relative strength of all these things is very, very helpful.
And I'll say, whenever I was looking at this,
Mhm,
uh, I was like, okay, I have a Belveth already.
mhm,
So in my head, I was thinking maybe I can go with the Belveth ASOL comp,
mhm.
but if I'm doing that, isn't the 5 costs here just better to go ahead and take a fiddle?
Hmm. Yeah, I think once again, stats wise, actually, like if you look here, I can pull over. I'm looking at like Aurelion Soul Augments. It says Extinction Event, the carry one slightly better, but it says Impact Tremors is really good. Like if you look at this actually versus the Fiddlesticks Augments, it actually says you get a better average placement playing the Belveth Augments versus or not the Belveth, the Aesol Augment versus the Fiddlesticks Augments. So stats wise, it actually says that Aesol Augment is stronger here. Even though like this gives you a fiddlesticks, I think just the power level of this augment is actually stronger. Also, really quick note, augments wise, the rules for what augments you can get. I don't know how much you know about them, but
Support is there's one support, and they'll always be the same
yeah,
essentially. So
they're
it's gonna
always
be 4-4-5 every
yeah,
reroll, and it's
it'll
gonna
always be.
be
Mhm.
support, then carry, then support.
I think that they can change. Like I think this can change into a like a carry, but there'll always be at least one carry and one support in each uh, thing. The other thing is it depends on the traits you have in. So like you can see here, we have Underground and Defender in. So that's why you're given this Garen augment here. And the other thing is you can see threat augments equal to the number of threats you have in +1 per slot, which is slightly hard to wrap your head around. It took me a while, but like this first slot can have 2 threat augments in it. So we've seen Asol here. If you reroll, maybe we'll see Aatrox, or by the time you get through your 4
Okay,
rerolls, it will have you will have
at
been able
least
to
two.
see at least 2 threats, and sometimes more if you run out of options. Um, and yeah, that's the only thing. Like this fiddle augment, you also have to think about like what's actually available at your cost. There's no 5 cost underground. There's no 5 cost defender. So this is always either going to be a threat, or it's just going to be a random augment. Because if it tries to pull
Yeah, so
something in,
I'm guaranteed to get the other fiddle augment if I want it.
uh, probably,
Because
yeah,
if it's +1, there's only no, because it could be Ergo.
yeah. So yeah, it can be Urgot as well. So you're not guaranteed to get fiddle. There's a decent chance you see it, but because there's only
Is
one
it
5.
actually Ergot?
What?
Is that how you say it, or is it Ergo?
Urgot. I say Urgot. I'm pretty sure it's
I've
Urgot.
said ergo the entire time, and
I'm pretty sure it's Urgot.
I've heard a mix, so I don't know how you're actually supposed to say it.
I don't know the pronunciation of
Uh,
anything, but I'm pretty sure it's Urgot. Um, okay, so yeah, I think impact velocity here, like your idea of playing for sort of like a Bel'Veth comp, you have um tier bow. We can go back and look at your spot item wise. You have tier bow, giant's belt. Is that it? I want to go further back. Oh, and you have this other bow. That's what I thought. You have another bow. It's like RFC, Bel'Veth, and then you play sort of like a threats comp is fine. Usually with threats, I like playing mech frontline, but it's not like the end of the world because like I don't really love mech with these items. But yeah, you could go like RFC Bel'Veth and some kind of tier item on ASOL. I think is fine. So yeah, I decently like I decently like taking ASOL augment here. Your other option is to roll and try to hit a Bel'Veth augment, which once again we can go to the stats and see what they say
or
about the
shiny.
Bel'Veth. Oh yeah, I mean shiny would be great. Yeah, the stats say like Bel'Veth augments are a lot worse than the ASOL augment. So yeah, I think taking impact velocity is fine here. There's a decent amount of stuff that you can get here, so like I don't hate rolling here. I'm actually trying to think about what I would
I
take in this.
definitely just take absolute corruption. I remember this specifically, but
Okay,
this
yeah,
was I was debating on impact velocity over it.
yeah. I mean, I don't love absolute corruption here because like, what are you really That's this support one, right? Gives AP.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
My
who are
plan
you?
was hopefully I end up getting an ASOL anyways and give it to the ASOL.
Yeah, you might. It's possible. But yeah, like right now, what are you really giving AP to? But yeah, I mean later you can give it to ASOL for sure. But yeah, like right now you're
I
giving it
was
to
hoping
Kale.
it would. Well, I was hoping it would go to Morgana instead of Kale. I just didn't have the
Okay.
time.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that's fair. But also just like AP on Morgana doesn't do too much. Just a little bit of extra damage on the bindings. But yeah, I like waiting here to like not level or anything. I think you should pick up this misfortune actually. Just speaking about, I mean, it's a hard thing in TFT, but sort of like being flexible. Like you can definitely, if you don't hit ASOL, but you hit like misfortune too, you can absolutely just play around misfortune as your like main carry
Yeah,
instead of
she's good with
ASOL there.
AP.
Yeah. So I think that's definitely a unit that you should hold. So yeah, like it's a hard thing in TFT, but just like being more flexible almost sort of like makes it so you're guaranteed to hit. Because like if you're rolling, if instead of rolling for just ASOL, you're rolling for Misfortune 2, TF2, Nico 2, and you can play any of those, it makes it infinitely more likely that you're actually going to hit. Okay. Items here wise, because we took Absolute Corruption, we want to. The other thing that's kind of awkward about Absolute Corruption is you want to play like mostly into an AP carry, but don't really have items for it. We have as our offensive items, we have Bobo tier. Like what are we gonna? I guess you can go if you could get multiple swords, you could go like Shojin Giant Slayer or something. But like looking at this carousel, especially it's all it's an item plus a defensive component. It feels pretty awkward. You're gonna get the fiddle pair, which I like, especially because we're going 8 here. If we can hit fiddle 2,
Yeah,
feels pretty
I was thinking fiddle pair plus archangels.
good. Yeah, no, I like that. So yeah, I think you should level here and start rolling. This is another thing where it's like elo dependent, where like if you don't get punished for this, all good. I think um, normally 4 or 5 is a pretty reasonable like sort of interval to level and start rolling, and you have a ton of gold, and your board
Yeah, I
is
definitely should have leveled beforehand.
yeah, and your board is not that strong, especially because like you always ever think about how you're killing units on your board. I don't see how this board is killing any units. Like thinking about board strength is oftentimes about, especially like if you're trying to save HP, like how you're killing units. Your damage dealers on this board are these fiddlesticks, kind of Sona and Kale. Like Morgana's more of a support unit. She's not a big damage dealer. So like this board just doesn't kill units. So I think you need to get to a spot where your board can actually like kill units. Like I think okay, you're gonna kill a couple of Oxfords here, but yeah, you fought a level 7 player. We killed 2 here. And like you look, their Annie is like barely touched. But yeah, okay, we go A tier, get our cash out, which feels really, really good. That's a pretty I mean, now we can actually I mean, with the Anima Visage, I like playing mech here a
Yeah,
ton,
I
actually.
immediately put both of those onto Garen.
Yeah. I mean, I do think Randuin's, let me see when you hover over it. I don't think the stats on it are that insane. Like, I feel decently fine about putting that on, like, yeah. It barely gives any stats on its own, so I feel decently fine about just putting that on, like, another unit. Um, and then, like, giving the Randuin's to Garen by putting unit next to him. Is still definitely a situation where you should start rolling. You also see the Mordekaiser, which, okay, you play on your board. I do think the second I see a Mordekaiser, especially this patch. I like 4 Ace. Oh my god. Okay. I like 4 Ace a decent bit, and you just get a random Samira 2 here. So I see Mordekaiser here. I see Samira 2 for free. I'm definitely thinking about why don't we play like a 4 Ace game with Samira. But okay, this is actually like pretty crucial because we didn't roll. We're actually at like a very reasonable danger of going bot 4 this game.
Yeah.
Like if you roll a lot of your gold here, you're completely fine. But we go from 49 to 36 to 23. So we've lost over half our HP in one fight, and now it's really scary. So yeah, I definitely think you should be rolling here. Also, or you should have been rolling the past 2 rounds. It's fine to actually roll here on you didn't pick up the Samira. It looked like
No,
I
I
think
didn't.
you don't have great
I
items for it, but
I
I think
didn't
you're
think about the 4 aces at all.
yeah,
My head
and
was
that's
kind
like
of stuck, I think, on the ASOL.
yeah, and that's I mean it's a really tough thing about TFT having a lot of like comps in mind and knowing how to play them all. Like I mean, it's actually kind of hilarious. Like look at the shop here. We have Misfortune, Draven, and Samir. We actually have 4 Ace with the Mordekaiser already, and then you can obviously like get Mech in with Draven, and it's really really good. But like being able to play all those comps is difficult. So you know, I don't hate just sort of like limiting yourself to the idea of playing like 1 or 2 comps. Like when you're learning the game. But like if that's the case, then yeah, we definitely have to roll down. Okay, I mean you hit Mordekaiser 2, pretty good. But still, our carries are Belveth 1. Okay, we finally hit Belveth 2. We're gonna have to sell the one we have on board, but that's
Yeah,
completely
I
fine.
immediately was like, well, I shouldn't have bought that yet.
Yeah, but it's fine. It's completely fine. But yeah, you hit the oof. Still kind of a rough fight. But are we gonna? No,
Yeah, we
yeah, the
lost.
ace with MF, but it's not the end of the world. But yeah, like okay, we're rolling. But yeah, like I think another thing is like the earlier you roll, the sort of like easier it is because you waited like greeded a ton of gold. I see so many people like around your elo do this where they greed a lot of their econ, but then they can't actually roll the gold fast enough because like it's hard to roll all this gold down and figure out like what units you want in. Like it's actually really it just makes the game a lot harder. Whereas like if you would just roll down, you'd be in a much better spot. It would be a lot easier to get all this gold out. Um, so like that's another thing is just sort of like rolling earlier there. But yeah, like I don't hate just for simplicity's sake saying that I'm going to play this comp. But if that's the case, then you can actually roll a lot faster if you're only looking for like 1 unit, you know. I also think this Morgana 3 is like pretty much a bait. I don't think you need to play this unit even on your board. She's fine, but like I even think a random Urgot that we found is probably better because we already have Static Shiv and we have Last Whisper.
Yeah,
So like you don't really need
and the
the shred.
Ionic Spark,
Yeah, and I absolutely would have held the
ASOL pair.
the Ace pair over her. It's also like Morgana 3 is like one of the she's a very weird 3-star in that like 3-starring her doesn't make her spell like stun any longer or anything like that. It doesn't like increase her shred or anything. It just makes her do more damage, which like she's it just doesn't do very much. Also, let's see. I think if we're giving a piece of the Mordekaiser, then I think it's fine. I don't actually know how Fiddle prioritizes 2 units that are adjacent.
Yeah,
Hopefully,
I was just sitting there hoping.
yeah. But I like, is there? I mean, I guess you can right click the Mordekaiser and see. But that'd be the only way. Oh, I also like. I guess I didn't note this earlier, but I do think I mean, it's a little bit awkward selling the Shen too, but like having like half an item component stuck on this Garen's a little bit annoying. Like ideally we would have just a full item on him. Okay, but yeah, we end up hitting Morg 3, which like I said, I don't think it really does that much for the board, but I don't think it's terrible. But I would much prefer having like an Acel 2 and like a better unit over this Morg 3. Yeah, I'm trying to go through this quickly because I know we're out of time on the session, but I do want to get to the end of the game just to see anything else interesting that I want to talk about. Oh, what is it? Oh, it's actually top 4. Okay. I mean, your board is pretty strong. It took a while to get there. I mean, I think this game can easily, I don't know where the game caps out at, but I think like from the spot you're in, I think this game could easily be like a top 2. And like the only reason why it could potentially not be a top 2, and like another thing, just like especially super late game, just putting a random component on a unit is usually not good.
Yeah,
Because like,
that actually was a bug. So
oh,
if you
okay.
go back, the fiddle had died. I went to
Oh,
put the
okay,
cloak onto the Garen to just make a Zephyr,
okay.
and it put it onto the fiddle even though the fiddle was dead already.
Yeah, no, that happens sometimes. Okay. Then yeah, if that happened, then that's completely fine. Yeah,
Because I
that
was
is a thing.
super confused about that too. I was like, wait, where did the
Mhm.
cloak go?
Yeah. No, that does happen sometimes. Hopefully they fix it at some point. But yeah, you can just sometimes actually accidentally itemize a unit that's dead for some reason. Um, yeah, I mean you're so low here. I like rolling. I just want to see. I just kind of want to see
Yeah,
what the final
this was the
position in this
last
game is.
fight.
Okay. So yeah, it's a second or it's a third.
Yeah,
Yeah,
third.
not bad, but yeah, like I see no reason why this game can't be a top two, probably a top one at your elo. But like I think the pivotal point. I mean, we talked about
Was
infinite stuff
taking the
this game.
Samiras.
I mean that would be nice, but the big thing is just rolling at all here. Like just rolling to make your board better. Like you can stabilize at 50 HP here, very easily if you just roll. Like imagine you roll and your next shop is two Samiras, then you could the pivot would be really easy. But even if it's not that, like imagine you roll and you find Belveth 2 here, stabilizing at 50 as opposed to stabilizing at like 8 HP or whatever you're at would be a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there's always infinite stuff to go over in these sessions. Like I feel like I could talk a lot more about this game, and like I know we didn't even get into the other game because we talked so much about this one. But do you have any questions about like I can do a few like last questions if you have questions about this game or just like anything in particular that
Do you
like
think it
you're
was correct for me to cut underground at the point that I did?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's perfect. You have to let's see. It's you got your cash out here and cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exactly how you play underground. Sometimes you can even get
I
it out
always think
earlier.
of it as like, well, if I'm gonna like once I hit 30, I'm all right, just cutting out wherever I get.
Yeah. I think like once like definitely late stage 4, it's pretty risky. I'll sometimes cash out like late stage 3 if like I feel like it's gonna take too much it's gonna cost too much HP to get to the next one. So yeah, I think here for this game it was the perfect time to cash out and you got a quite good cash out. So yeah. Any other questions?
No, I do think that knowing that I can fight those three people is a big
Yeah, no.
deal.
That's a huge easy thing. That will be very, very helpful. Yeah, no, I mean there's a lot more stuff we could talk about, but out of time. But I'm definitely I mean I do think you did a lot of good stuff this game. It was good how you win streak the game. I liked basically all your augment picks. I think the fiddle one's like slightly
Worse than
not amazing.
Asol.
Yeah, but I do think like especially if you're not looking at stats, like it's easy to look at this fiddle augment and think that it's really really strong. And it does give you a fiddlestick, so it's not like egregious. I do think looking at stats will help you in the future. And still, don't just like if you have two Belveths and you see a Belveth augment, don't be like, oh, the Aesol augments are better. I'm going to roll for those. Like obviously it's all spot dependent and like
Yeah.
making a Belveth 2 will always be really, really good.
The
But
only one that I'm willing to roll for like that is Winds of the Wanderer.
yeah, that's I mean, this game, if you had got two cost augments and you had hold the line with two Rels already, that would have been like the most disgusting opener ever. It's like it actually just would have been a free top four because there's just like nothing
Yeah.
you even have to do. But yeah, okay. Hopefully this was helpful. It was definitely cool talking to you about your experience in Magic and other games. Cool to see